Hey, everybody. Welcome to Gaming Golf, the podcast that is done by RotoWire and Morning Read. Scott Jenstad, Jeff Erickson, and Jeff Ritter here. Jeff is live from the Charlotte airport. And Jeff, first of all, you're doing something with your Morning Read. Let's tell everybody where you're doing.
Yeah, this is my first travel work assignment in 14 months. So pretty exciting to eat a Cinnabon this morning and just feel, instead of shame, but actually feel joy in that Cinnabon. That was a first in a while. We're Buffalo Agency, the owner of Morning Read. They are a marketing agency for NFL Alumni Association golf outings. And the first golf outing, a partnership with the Alumni Association, is this week at Firestone. So I'm going to go play golf with some ex-NFL alums and watch the NFL draft with them this week. So not a bad return to travel, 2 weeks off my vaccine. So here we go, back on the road and playing golf. So pretty good time here.
It's a hard knock life. But,
it's a hard knock life. It's not fun wearing the mask for like 8 hours straight, though, while you travel. That is one thing I forgot to overlook. As great as the Cinnabon was, the mask thing is still some getting used to. So, but small price to pay.
All right. Let's jump right into the Valspar. Last week we saw the team event, the Zurich, and I don't really want to talk about it because I have Louis on our league, and that was They brought me in to hit the tee shot on the playoff hole. It had my signature slice and everything there, so that was awesome.
Cam Smith owner here, so it was a great shot.
Yeah, I know. Pipe down. All right, so let's look at the Valspar. Tough course, first of all, Innisbrook. Really tough play. Finish 16, 17, 18 are nasty there. It's a tight course. Winning score is usually about 8 to 10 under par. Paul Casey's won the last two tournaments. Is he by default your favorite this week, guys?
Not for me. I think winning 3 times is tough. He's off a little bit of a rough tournament a couple of weeks ago. And there was no tournament in 2020. So you got to remember those back-to-backs for 2018, 2019. Right. So it's a little bit different. But, yeah, fun course, narrow fairways. The greens are tough. You get the snake pit down the stretch, which is probably the best named stretch of holes in golf, which I love that. All the par threes are 200-plus yards. It's just one of those courses where you got to hit the fairway. Guys, greens in regulation are really low this week. It's like under 60, just right about 60%. Scrambling's big. So it's a tough challenge. I like courses like this. When you get a winning score like 8 to 10 under par, it's fun.
Yeah, Casey won it last time at 8 under. I'm with you. I like it. I like a good, tough regular tour course. And this is one that delivers that, especially if the wind blows a little bit. I mean, Look out. You could have a lot of crash landings and all kinds of unpredictability on Sunday at this tournament, which is fun. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it seems kind of silly to just disregard Casey when you've won it 2 times in a row, but at the same time, that's like Tiger territory, winning the same event 3 times in a row. I thought I read Steve Stricker won. It might have been the John Deere 3 times in a row, maybe 10 years ago or so. But it's just not something that happens that often. So, for like a DraftKings lineup, I wouldn't scratch Casey off. But if I was just picking a one and done or, a futures bet or something like that, I'd probably just look other ways than Paul Casey this week.
Yeah, and he's not cheap. At 10,000 on DraftKings, you're paying up for him. And so that's kind of part of the, you're used to getting him in the 8,000, the 9,000 range, or at the Masters, even in the 7,000 range. So a little bit different here. But that's one of the points too. It's a big field, 156 players, and yet there's not too many stars. I think 4 in the top 10, 8 in the top 25, if I saw that correctly, 18 in the top 50. Not a loaded field.
No, but a good field. When you get JT and DJ at the top, it makes it a lot of fun and some good names down there. So you might be missing, a bunch. But for Valspar, it felt like there were more names than I was expecting for a tournament like this.
Yeah, well, they moved it to May just to try to help it out, but the problem is like next week's a big one. It's considered the tune-up for the PGA, and then of course the PGA is in 3 weeks after that, or 2 weeks after that. So this is almost one of those lull periods here. You get the Zurich, and then you get this one, and then starts to pick back up again.
Yeah. I was actually surprised to see both DJ and JT in the field. I like the mix, even though it's not going to rank as high as some of your other, more glamorous, I guess, regular tour stops. I kind of like where the Valspar is sitting this year. I think they should keep this. I think it's a good spot for them.
All right, so this is one of those courses where I long approaches might come into play a lot. Scrambling is going to come into play a lot. It's not always going to be like, we always say, it seems like every week we say the key metric is strokes gained approach. Is that really the case again this week? What metrics should we be looking at if you're a metric looker?
That's where I'm looking. I think tee to green in general, off the tee's big, as long you got to hit the ball in the fairway. The bigger drivers, the bomb and gouge is not quite as material. A lot of guys club down though, and so some of those big hitters, if you can hit a 3-wood instead of a driver and still get it out there pretty good, that does help a lot. But yeah, I think long irons, like I said, for all these par threes are over 200 yards. You're looking for guys that hit the ball. It's a ball striking course. It's a tough course. So that, we've said it a few times in the last couple of weeks, but that's kind of what I'm looking at again.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a course on tour where you would just ignore tee to green as a stat, but I think this is one where maybe you could de-emphasize putting just a little bit, because the greens are not only, because you're emphasizing the tee to green game, but the greens themselves are smaller, much smaller than your average tour stop. So that alone, just, with less square footage to work with on the greens, it places less of an emphasis on great putting. So that might be one stat you could de-emphasize as you're putting together lineups this week or trying to find the answer in whatever betting game or gambling game you're playing.
All right, let's look at the field a little bit. You mentioned DJ and Justin are at the top. Most expensive players, probably the highest odds, are low. I guess lowest odds. I guess least favorable betting odds. Obviously, I bet a lot. But all right, so I won't be giving you your wagering advice. But Scott, what do you think about going after a Justin Thomas or Dustin Johnson this week, especially if you're building a DraftKings lineup?
Yeah, it's funny because you have to kind of look at the bottom before you decide and answer that question. And there's not a ton of guys I like down low. I think that there's a couple of guys I really like in the 10s. There's a lot of guys I like in the 9s. I think I'm building more of a balanced approach this week. And in terms of betting, JT's 10-1 right now. DJ's 11-1 right now. I mean, they're obviously great players. I'd lean JT if I had to pick one of the two, but I tend to not bet guys at those numbers, and I probably won't be betting either one of them. But if I had to take someone up top, I'd go JT over DJ this week. I just don't love how DJ's playing the llast month or so.
With you, Scott, I would also lean JT over DJ. I actually, when I went through my DraftKings lineup, I kept for this week more than any in a while. I kept pulling guys in the 8s and 7s even with ease. So I know, like for the Masters, I was very much endorsing the stars and scrubs idea. But this week, I don't know, a lot of mid-tier guys kind of jumped out at me with their recent form and course fit. So I know we'll get into it. But I think if you're going to take one off the top tier, I think JT, I think it's usually top 5 in the tee to green category. And obviously, he could win anywhere. So I think just recent form, he'd be the guy for me over DJ.
Yeah, the level of players in the 6s this week is so much different than some of the majors that you have to factor that in.
Yeah, there are only 5 players with 5 digits. There's Thomas and Johnson. Victor Hovland's at 10-5, Patrick Reed at 10-3, and defending champ Paul Casey at 10,000 straight up. Rostering any of those other ones there, Scott?
Yeah, I'll have some Patrick Reed this week. I love him for this course. Just a great scrambler. Played really well at Augusta. Was in the top 10, 7.8 shot gain total there. Last 5 tournaments, 3 top 10s. I think Reed's Reed's one of those guys that can win any tournament, which you like when you're paying this price. You want someone that has that win equity, and he definitely has that this week. I definitely play him over Casey. I love Victor Hovland, so I wouldn't argue hard against that. I'm just playing a little bit worse the last 3 tournaments, so I'd probably lean to Reed if I take someone over in the 5 digits.
And a little bit more expensive, too.
Yeah.
And I'm going right down the line. It's JT off the top tier, and then I found enough farther down the chart.
So is this the week that you don't pick Abraham Answer?
How many times have I picked him so far?
At least twice. At least twice.
He's off my board this week.
Hey,
he'll probably win.
Top 25s in the last 5 weeks. Obviously didn't work betting wise, but DraftKings wise, he's not hurting you.
Right.
I like him again this week.
Yeah, 9,300 this week. He's creeping up there in price, but nonetheless, still, it could be a pretty good setup there for him there. Especially, again, this is a good course for him.
Corey Connors, another one we've been hyping as an undervalued, player. Popped at the Masters, and now he's up there in the high 9s. I noticed. So we got to go find a new sleeper this week, Scott.
He's the 3rd highest betting favorite this week. It's wild how this rocket ship is just all the way up. I mean, you got 4 top 10s last 5 tournaments. I love Corey Connors, but I can't bet him at 16-1 or 18-1, whatever book you're using. And the third highest, it's crazy up there.
Can you play him though in DFS at 9,600?
I think he'll be very popular. He's the seventh highest price guy. He's the third highest favorite. I think he'll be popular. I love the low nines this week, so I'm going to try and play two of those guys instead, probably in most of my lineups.
Yeah, because the optimizer loves him. The RotoWire optimizer does love him.
He's balling right now. I mean, he's number one in shot gained across the board total off the tee in the last 36 rounds in this whole field. I mean, he's playing the best of anybody in this field. It's hard to pay the price for him this week.
Yeah.
Okay. When you raise the hood on the optimizer, I mean, is it recent form? Is it course form? Is it the stats? What's inside that optimizer? I want a little insight into the under the hood here.
See, I'm an end user of the optimizer. I'm not a designer of the optimizer. I don't. If you wanted to talk baseball, I could talk a little bit more about that. But I just use our RotoWire's tools for it. And,
I'll answer kind of what I do. I don't use the optimizer, but I kind of use a model here, and I'm looking at last 36 rounds, and you go and all the shot gains metrics across the board. So you kind of add them all up, and Corey Connors comes up number one in shot gain total, number two in DraftKings points, just right behind Justin Thomas in that stretch of 36 rounds for all players.
Right,
I see, but it totally ignores the narrative, which as a journalist,
yes, narrative street is not in the model. Sorry.
We're trying to put Ritter out of business with this. No, just kidding. But you guys can check out the optimizer for yourself and just tool around with it. Take a look at it. You go to rotowire.com/try. You get a free 10-day trial to RotoWire, and including all of our DFS tools there for that. That's a good way of checking that out. And you can better answer that for yourself by looking around that, everybody. Both of you guys found down ballot guys or lower tiered guys. Jeff, we'll start with you. Who are some of the guys you do like that you had no problem finding this week?
So I started the 8,000s on the DraftKings board.
Okay. I'm
in on the Hoff. I mean, I picked him up in our fantasy league. I think Charlie Hoffman is he's riding the wave right now, where he's making a cut every week. He might find himself leading later than a Thursday if this keeps up the way he's trending now. I just like him as a fit for the course. He's got 3 top 10s in this year in the last, I think, couple of months. So he's just playing really well. I also like Ryan Palmer a lot, who you mentioned, Jeff, is just someone who kind of always just seems to be a little bit underrated and always is playing a little bit better than you think. I think he's a good fit for this course as well, as someone who just he's also made 4 straight cuts in this event. He hasn't played it 4 years in a row, but I just like the way he's playing right now. And there's something about that, that Paul Casey mode of, a grizzled 40-something winner where that just translates naturally to me for Ryan Palmer. So those are 2 guys out of the 8,000 range that I dropped into my lineups right away this week.
Scott, you mentioned that you wanted to start using 2 low 9,000 guys. So which ones are you targeting here?
I love the low nines this week. I like Tyrrell Hatton. Played really well last week, carrying around the corpse of Danny Willett around the course with him, trying to get there. They had a really good stretch on Sunday, and Willett just hit the ball in the water on 18 for a double, which was miserable. I really like Abe Answer again at 9,300, just playing really well. If he could just putt a little bit, he's lost strokes putting in 4 of the last 5. He can putt a little bit. I see a top 10 there. And I love Sung J M this week. The game is coming around. The irons were a little bit weak for a while. Now they're coming around. He played really well at RBC, finished 13th. Another guy who was kind of carrying his partner, Benny Ann, is just really struggling right now. So they had trouble last week, but missed the cut at the Masters, but he was eighth at Honda. He's a really good Florida tough course player. I think he profiles and fits really well, top 30 and 6 of the last 7. And then if you want to get a little lower percentage, I think Joaquin Neiman at 9,100 would be pretty low percentage just because these other names around there, plus the Corey Connors. Hasn't missed a cut since August of 2020. He's on a really good roll. Then he finished 40th at Augusta, which is kind of middling, but just playing really well. He has 7 top 30s and 8 tournaments prior to Augusta. Just a guy that I think will get hidden a little bit this week with all the bigger names right around him.
Yeah, I love the Neiman suggestion. Like you said, hasn't missed a cut in forever. Yeah. And you save a couple bucks off of him versus the others in that grouping too. What about Russell Henley at 9,000? He's another guy that I think there's zero buzz, but he seems to be there a lot.
I don't know. I hadn't really thought about him, but you're right. That's
zero buzz.
Idea. I'm not buzzing. I was also, I guess, one other in that range would be for me, Jason Kokrak. I buzzed right past Henley and went to Kokrak, who's also playing well this year and has really good course history at Innisbrook. So he was just another one that I checked the box and then kind of do the research and run the numbers later. And I like Kokrak in that price range.
Now comes with putting, new model.
We'll see. You don't need to putt this week though, Jeff. You just need to get it on the green, and you're already in 2-putt range.
Yeah, but Coco has 3 top 10s last 4 tournaments, just playing really well. He's a guy in there. I found the 8,000s weird. Like, there's a lot of guys liking the 9s, and then Jeff mentioned a couple guys in the 8s. I didn't love the 8s. I like Chris Kirk at 8,200, just playing really, really well right now. 3 top 10s last 5 weeks, but it's been great tee to green. Over 4 shots gained in 5 of the last 6. He's probably the guy. If I were to go down a little bit in the lower 8s, he's probably my favorite guy before we get to the 7,000s. I didn't love a lot of the 8s. Jeff mentioned Hoffman and Kokrak both playing well, but I think I bump up a little bit price range and get to the 4 guys I mentioned, the low 9s. I kind of find the extra bucks and play those guys instead.
Okay, so if you're doing that, then who are you getting in the 7s to kind of supplant those 8s?
So I think Doug Gim will be very popular, and that always scares me a little bit. The guys down here, when they get popular, he's playing really well. He's 7,300. I think I moved to other guys in that range. I like Alex Norn at 7,300 a little bit. Played really well at Genesis, which is kind of a comp course for this one, and played really well last week at RBC Heritage. You finished 25th. 6.4 shots gained tee to green, 3.3 on approach. If he can putt a little bit, I think he's a guy that will be probably half the ownership of Doug Gim, and at the same price, I kind of like making that move there.
It's so funny you mentioned Doug Gim because I'm such a square. When I ran the optimizer, I locked in Doug Gim. So he's gonna be right here.
He's gonna be popular this week. He's playing really well. I mean, it's only a matter of time before maybe he gets over the top and gets that top 5, top 10. But I don't know, when you get guys down here and they get really popular, I tend to kind of look for another way to play it, just because there is still some variability with Doug Gim as much as I do like him.
Would you do it differently? Like maybe use him more in cash games and less so in like a tournament format?
100%.
How about you, Jeff? Who are some of your cheapies that you like in the 7,000?
I also had flagged Gim, so Scott and I continue to stay syncopado on finding sleepers every week. But I looked at Charles Schwartzel, off the runner-up in the team event last week. Playing well now, riding a little bit of success. He's a previous winner at Innisbrook. He's 7,100 in DraftKings, and he needs a good result to get into the PGA Championship. He's not there yet.
Narrative Street. There we are.
I like the hungry golfer who's playing well, but also just needs it. So I would look at Schwartzel this week for filling out the bottom half of your lineups. And then another guy who is a bit of a mystery to me, but I'm always intrigued when a European Tour player just kind of jumps over, and why when it's not a WGC event and it's just an obvious guaranteed cut. Sam Horsfield has 4 straight top 15 finishes on the European Tour, and he's coming over. And I don't know why exactly he's playing this week, but he's playing this week. So I just like seeing a guy who's hot overseas come over and try his luck. So for 7,400, I flag that as somebody I want to read up on a little bit more to see what's going on with his game. But at the very least, recent form is good, and here he is. So I'd watch out for that at 7,400.
Scott, what say you? Anybody else in that range that you want to recommend?
I do. I like Lanto Griffin at 7,400, same price as Horsfield. Miscut at the Masters, but prior to that, he made 6 cuts in a row. He was top 40 in all 6. Excellent tee to green numbers at Valero, API, and WGC Mexico, and then a little bit cheaper at flat 7,000. I really like Tom Hoagie right now, playing really well.
Ask you about him.
Top 25 in 3 of the last 4 at RBC, Valero, and Players. He gained 10 strokes tee to green at Valero and 6.3 on approach. Gained 4.6 tee to green and 3.5 approach at RBC Heritage. Like, those are stats we want at this tough course. And at 7,000, he's a guy that I'm definitely gonna have in lineups. I think that he'll be solid. I think he'll make the cut. He's not a winner pick, but at 7,000, you want to make the cut and you finish top 25. That's a good play right there.
Okay, and finally, if you do decide to go Stars and Scrubs and you do load up top, who are some cheapies that you can find?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was going to say, for me, Schwartzel, I don't know that you need to go down into the 6,000s this week. I just stopped at Schwartzel myself. I felt like the low 7s, I could fill it out from there.
I'm gonna go back to someone that we talked about. I think 2 weeks ago we had a couple guys at 6,000 and both made the cut. I'm gonna go back to Chase Seaford at 6,600. Made 5 straight cuts. He had 3 top 20s in March. I mean, those are great stats for a guy that's priced this low. And if you want to if you want to bump up your 9,000 guy to get to Patrick Reed, is a guy that I think you can play. I think he'll make the cut. Played really well at Honda, which is a similar, Florida tough course. He finished third at that tournament, gained 7.9 approach that week. So I think of the 6,000s, he's the kind of guy that jumps off the page. I think he'll probably be a little bit popular down that range, but not, nobody's playing too many guys down here. But he's my favorite guy at 6,600. I think he'll help you get some other players in your lineup.
Okay, very good. I picked up Seifert in our league. Actually,
I actually went to go look, and I saw that, and I was a little bummed because I have about 3 guys that I want to drop off my team, and I can't find anyone to pick up.
Well, I had to have 5 for the Zurich. You can't go, you can't go to the Zurich without 5. It just won't happen. It's not allowed. You got to have it. So I went with him there, but no, it's because of this podcast. Actually, it's because I went to go pick him up. So thank you for that.
You needed the content.
Yep. Okay, let's pivot over to the avoids real quick. So give us a couple of guys that you should steer clear of this week.
Well, it feels ridiculous to steer clear of Dustin Johnson. It just, that's the type of advice that can just burn you. But I just think Justin Thomas, the form is better. The course fit might be a little better. So I was just inclined to stay away from DJ. I leaned away from Paul Casey, even though, why would you? There's really nothing on paper that tells you to, other than it's just so rare and virtually impossible to three-peat at an event. And you just feel like maybe he's due for a bad week at this place. So I leaned away from a lot of those, that 10,000 line, that 9,000 line, and started building my teams in the 8s and 7s with the mid-tier, if you will.
How about you, Scott? Who are a couple of avoids for you?
Yeah, I don't like Bubba Watson this week. He's priced at 8,900. Just has not been playing well over. You look at the last 4 tournaments or so. Just kind of some up and down results. Played okay at the Masters, but a couple missed cuts in there. A 54th. Just not playing well enough for me to pay the 8,900. And an interesting guy this week is Emiliano Griot. He's 8,300. He's priced up. He's played really well the last couple of weeks. He's just someone to me that he feels like he's priced up, and now he's gonna drop the poor week on you. So I'm not playing any Griot. I may end up paying for that, but one of those top 10s was a Punta Cana, so kind of an alternate event. And then he was second at RBC Heritage, played really well, but he's someone that I'm not buying in on this week.
All right, very good. Let's finally finish up with one and done and betting odds. So Jeff, who are you using in your one and done pool? Who are there other couple picks to win for you?
I'm split. I'm gonna just go to my happy place once we get off this call. It's either gonna be the Hoff or it's gonna be Schwartzel. I'm gonna go with one of those two guys. I'm gonna go a little bit farther down the board, even in the one and done. This feels like an off week, like a surprise, like one of those type of under the radar, lesser known, lesser wattage winners. I'm between those two guys.
All right, Scott, what say you?
Yeah, so on my betting card, kind of in that mid-range, I'm going to be betting Sung J M for sure at 28-1 and Joaquin Niemann at 35-1. Down the card a little bit, I really like Chris Kirk at 55-1. Going to be tough for him to win, but that's just a number I think is too high for how well he's playing. I also like Max Homa at 70-1. That seems like a big number. He was on fire. Then he missed the cut at Players and Masters. Maybe kind of get that form back a little bit. I think 70-1 for how well he's playing. You look at the DraftKings price is like 8,100. I think that price is too low. If you're looking for a couple of bombers, Doug Gim at 100-1. I know we talked about it in DraftKings. He might be a little too popular, but 100-1. Sam Burns playing really well right now. Played really well last week. He was good, and then he was bad. Played well last week in the Zurich event. 90-1 is just a number I think is a little bit too high. So a couple bucks here and there. But in order to my one and done and my biggest bet, I'm going with Sung J M this week. I think that he won Honda. What was it last year, the year before? I think it was the year before because of COVID. I think we're gonna see another Florida win from Sung J. I think the game is rounding into form at the perfect time. 28-1 and one and done for me on Sung J this week.
Very good. All right. Any other parting shots before we go and Jeff can catch his flight?
I think we should all take a note when we return to traveling, what it's like to wear a mask the entire time you're on the plane and at the airport again. Don't underestimate that. And also make sure you check your toiletries travel bag like a day before you get on the plane, because there's a lot of funky things can happen when you take a year off and travel. So you gotta just replace all of it when you take that much time away. But happy to get back on the road this week. So
definite pro move. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. Hopefully you gained a little knowledge. Hey, spread the word. Tweet it out at us, please. Please let us know, by the way, what you want to see and hear from us as we do this every week. We'll be back at you again next Tuesday. Thanks for listening. Take care.